Hey y'all, Joel Brown here again with Speckled Trout Outfitters, here to share just another fly that I have loved. It's a classic. It's a Rainbow Warrior on a jig hook. I am using a size 16 lightning strike jig hook with a 3.0 slotted tungsten Firehole silver bead. You will also need Opal Tinsel in medium, and you will need a tail. I'm choosing a pheasant tail and natural, as well as optional. I'll show you. You could also add some UV clear fly finish, thin, and a UV light. I also have, for the dubbing on the top, I have rainbow Scud dubbing. So this fly has been one of my favorites. It's something I recommend keeping in your box pretty much year round. It is especially effective when the water is a little off color and when the water is just running high in general in the spring. Even in the winter, I find it to be very effective, just very attractive, attention getter fly. Great fly to throw on there even if that's not what they're eating primarily. Highly recommend. And yeah, so we're just going to start. I've got, for my thread, I'm using 70 denier burnt orange, but I like red, pink, purple, really anything to kind of give it'll really just show a hot spot at the finish is what you're going to use it for. So just to start, I'm going to start seating that bead in right behind the eye, make some wraps, establish a base there, and cut that extra thread. And from the start here, I'm going to go ahead and add my pheasant tail fibers. I usually use about 6 to 8, 6 to 10, depending on the size of the fly. And I'm just going to hold them. I'm holding them by the back of the tail here. And with a loose wrap, I'm going to go over the top. Now you'll see how it forces it around the other side. Easy fix. I'm just going to grab it and force it back underneath. And once I get that, I'm going to try to get my length right, which is about 1/4 of the length of the hook typically. And I'll take one more wrap to secure. I think that tail is still a little too long, so I'm going to bring it back just a hair, and I'm going to work back towards the bend of the hook here. Nice even clean wraps, and I don't want there to be it to get down to the bend. As you'll notice, I'm kind of correcting those fibers as they want to shift to the other side of the hook, but I want to kind of keep them straight. So I'm going to stop right there, head my way back up, and go just a little bit further before I go ahead and clip off that extra fibers here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add that tinsel. I've said this in other videos, but I just want to emphasize again, when you're adding these materials, as you saw with the pheasant tail, they want to push to the side of the hook. But what I like to do is just go around the thread between my two hands and thread it underneath and slide it down all the way there. It's one to lose. Let me just reset on that. You can see it's very finicky, so if you just take your time, make it right the first time, it will save you in the long run and make a more productive fly. Now I've gotten it in position, and I'm just wrapping back down, back to exactly where I stopped with the pheasant tail fibers. And I'm going to go ahead and put that thread to the side here and start to make wraps. Just kidding. I'm actually going to first go back up the body, of course, and I'll kind of go all the way to the top there. Now I can put that thread to the side. I'm going to start wrapping this tinsel up the body, nice even. I want all that thread to be covered, so let's make sure you've got a little bit of overlap there as you work back up. Nice even wraps. And I'll do one more at the top because that's going to kind of get messed around with by the thread. Now, to tie off this thread, I like to go left and right of the tinsel. One to the left, one to the right. Now that it's in, I'm going to do that 3 times. One to the left, one to the right. One more time. One to the left, one to the right. Perfect. I'll put that thread to the side here and go ahead and cut that tinsel off as close as I can. It's going to get covered up, so it's not a big deal. Now here is where I've added another step. I like to use a UV clear finish. I use Loon's UV clear fly finish in thin just so that I can add, it kind of bulletproofs the tinsel, because that tinsel is a delicate material. You catch a couple fish, it'll start to slide and move on the hook. So instead, I like to go ahead and basically just cement it, bulletproof it with a little bit of this finish, and I'll use the brush that comes as with this as well to kind of even that out. I also just kind of like that translucent, iridescent look. You don't need a lot. It really depends on what you're kind of trying to create. I also think that this just kind of gives it just helps it fall a little bit faster too. Now over the top with the UV light, if you've never used one, just keep it really close to the fly for a few seconds. I like to kind of work it around the hook, make sure the whole thing gets hit pretty well. This is just going to anchor it, solidify it. Once you're done there, I'm all good. Fly should be pretty locked and loaded now. I'm going to add some rainbow Scud dubbing. When you're adding dubbing, just take a little bit at a time. Less is more. I've said that before, and I really mean that. Less is more. So I'll just take a little bit here to start. I've got it between my index finger and my thumb, and very loosely, and I'm adding it to the thread, and I'm just going to spin it on the thread with pressure between my index finger and thumb. I'm just spinning it on, and eventually it just kind of gets really nice and fine, as you'll see there. And I'm just starting here at the top, going over itself here. Don't want it to be too much. That's about right. And then I'm going to go ahead and whip finish. Depending on how big of kind of a hot spot you want to create at the top of the fly, you can add some wraps at the top before you whip finish, or just do extra whip finishes like I am, so you can kind of see that orange thread at the top, or pink or red or purple or whatever you choose. So I did 5 on the first whip finish and 4 on the second, and I'm going to clip that thread. So that right there is your Rainbow Warrior in a size 16. I'd really fish it 16s, 18s. I fish that a lot on kind of our smaller wild rivers and stuff around here. And then if you want to take a gander on the tailwaters with this fly, maybe in a 20, 22. If the water's off color, maybe a little bit bigger. But this is an all-around amazing fly. Highly recommend you having it in our box. We've got all these materials at the shop. If you have any other questions about this fly or any other fly you want us to do, please leave a comment. Let us know what you're looking for. We're here for you. And thanks so much for showing out and watching.